Hello and welcome to HOMTV's March is Women's History Month program series featuring female leaders in our community. Today I am honored to be joined by Rina Risper. She is the owner and publisher of the New Citizens Press. It is a multicultural based publication. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here.
I am so happy that you're here. I met you basically through email, right? Last year. During Meridian Township's 175th anniversary.
Correct.
And you gave us the pleasure of working with us to have some of our 175th information in your newspaper, and you shared it on social, and you worked so well with us. I'm just so appreciative.
That's interesting. You know, that's one of the interesting things when you work in the newspaper industry. Sometimes it's like being Oz. And so when you come out, that's the first time I've really heard that kind of feedback, because we do share a lot and your appreciation is appreciated.
And I had not heard of, honestly, I had not heard of the New Citizens Press until Andrea Smiley from our office, she had brought it to my attention, and I was so glad that she did. And then recently you gave a presentation at the Michigan Association of Broadcasters conference, a media conference that they host.
It was amazing.
You were fantastic, and so I got to meet you in person.
Yeah, that was really interesting. When you're talking about diversity in media, because the things that I'm sure that people thought we would bring up, we didn't actually bring up. We brought up things that were totally outside the spectrum of being, like me being Dutch West Indian and my mother only speaking Dutch. Being a black person was probably interesting to them, and then coming to Michigan and telling people that I'm Dutch was probably quite a surprise to many people during the media conference. So
yeah, because when people look at each other, they just assume. It's just a natural assumption.
It is.
I don't think it's racist. It's just a natural.
It's just a natural assumption
that people have.
We just want to think that we know more than we actually do. I do it myself sometimes, but I think that we're becoming more knowledgeable about people. And I always tell my children and other people that I interact with, find something that you have in common. If you play the piano, play that piano. Talk about music. If you have differing opinions, talk about what it is that you have in common, so that at least you can be in an environment that's positive. Let's
talk about how you got started with the New Citizens Press.
That's an interestingly long story. In 2001, I was at a Caribbean festival. I worked for a large insurance company at the time, writing letters for the president. And there were responses to complaint letters, and I met a gentleman, and he said, he's walking around with these shades on and this black bag, and said, you should come write for us. And I was like, no, I don't do that kind of writing. And he said, oh, yes, you can. So in September, we always go to New York for Labor Day, the Caribbean parade, and then 9/11 happened. And I wrote a story about 9/11 and for him, and then I quit my job the week that I got back, which was right before 9/11.
And what was your job, if I could
I worked at I worked at a large insurance company here. So I quit my job, and while I was, to digress, we were in the doctor's office with my. She was born in April, with my daughter, and I saw the Twin Towers fall. And I'm from New York City, so that was very, very impactful for me. And I had just, quit my job, and so I went to go work for this gentleman. It didn't quite work out. That's a whole nother story for a great Lifetime movie saga.
Okay. we need to create that then.
we really do. And then in 2002, I started the newspaper. Prior to that, I had gotten into a car accident and wasn't feeling quite well. I had this little baby, and I was so happy, and I was just got my first apple. I didn't know what I was doing, and was just not feeling good, and went to the doctor and found out I was having another baby.
Oh my goodness.
So
Now, were you married? Can I ask?
yeah,
Were you married?
yeah, I was married. I was married at the time, and it was just a really interesting time. And to be a woman and starting your own newspaper and not be a part of the community that actually, not to be a person who was born here, that was interesting. Very interesting.
You were in Michigan at this time.
I was in Michigan at the time.
And most of your family...
most of my family lives in New York.
In New York.
New York or Georgia.
New York
and
or
St.
Georgia.
Martin in
St. Martin.
the Caribbean.
Okay. I love St. Martin.
St. Martin's so awesome. It's split by the Dutch and the French. You can get both sides of everything. It's just a really amazing, it's a very amazing place to visit. Two things in one island. You can't really get that much of anywhere else, but so yeah, it's just been a really amazing experience so far. I've been in business for 17 years.
Wow.
17 years. So writing stories have become very easy for me. But I love writing about people. I love writing about the family after the murder, not during the trial. I love when I see young people who are striving for college educations, even though family members were taken from them in such tragic ways, or the sister who's currently buying a house, or the nonprofit that's been created as a result to refurbish houses and sell them. I mean, I focus on the positives, at least.
How do you decide which stories are out there that you want to write about?
Anyone, if you come to me and talk to me, I'll probably figure out something. If you bake strawberry sugar cookies from your grandmother's recipe from, 1909, I'd probably find something in that. The issue is now is that it just takes so much time for me to feel that it's right. And even sometimes I don't, it's not perfect for me. It's not like I have this huge staff. So sometimes I have to cut it down, which doesn't make me feel as productive. But, no one knows that except the people who are watching right now.
So if they Google the New Citizens Press, they will be able to find your digital publication.
Or Rina Risper newspaper. That's how most people find me. I'm called the newspaper lady.
Okay.
So I find myself really enjoying delivering the newspaper, and most of the people that I deliver to have no idea I own it as well. So I get all these great stories from people, or people say things like, you look really familiar.
We just had a staff member here say that. They said, who's the lady waiting for you? I think I know her. And then they said your name. They said, yes, that's right.
Yeah, and it's really interesting as well because I'm a very insular person. And I think that people sometimes think I'm more insular than I am. But sometimes it's just really easy for someone to have an issue and me to make a phone call to make their issue much better for them when they have had so many problems getting through. And sometimes because you're in the position that you are in, people just expect you to go along with whatever their norm is.
Yes.
And you try to explain to people, well, that's not the way it works, and they get upset with you because you just don't agree with them. I get a lot of people who complain about issues, whether it's with doctors, their job. That's an issue for a legal expert. I can't.
What's the mission of your paper? Because it probably needs to fall within that mission, correct?
Because I'm the owner, I get to do what I want to do.
That's right.
Which is really great. But for the most part, our overarching goal is to educate individuals. It doesn't matter if we are writing about the primarily African American, not African American, the primarily African Mexican population in Mexico, or if we're talking about the fact that there are people who come to this country who really work for no pay. We also have a column for retirement. Dr. Janine, she's so great. She does a workplace article, and she's so funny. And we also have a Teen Talk column where we allow teenagers to write. I still have students coming back saying that this article helped me to do this, or it's a really amazing opportunity to help the student population, because I could say, yes, you can be published. The youngest was 12.
Wow. I was going to ask you if you had contributing writers or interns.
I don't have any interns, but we do have contributing writers, and I let my writers write in their voice. I can write in AP, but what I noticed was that when I first started, nobody wanted to write for me. So I just started looking online for people who were financial advisors, people who wrote about health issues, natural health elements in their life. And I have a lady right now who writes about crystals.
Oh, wow.
She writes about crystals, and she's Catholic, and and I accept her articles as well. So it's really based on if you were educating other people about who you are as an individual. I don't care if it's the fact that you went Norwegian dog sledding. Give me something good about that. Did you get lost in the woods, or what did you eat, and how do you pronounce it? And that's what I love the most about what I do. It's that I can do these things. I can look around and see that Lansing and the greater Lansing area, including Okemos and East Lansing, has a very large Chinese population, and it's growing. But before the Chinese population, there were the Vietnamese, the Laotians, and the Hmongs who came as a result of the refugees that come to Lansing area all the time, the Croatians.
There's a large Indian population in Okemos as well.
There is a very large Indian population in the Okemos area. Oh, and the west side of Lansing as well. So we
would love to try to work together with community members to diversify some of the programs that we have here, and sometimes it's hard to get to know. Oh,
and within that you have
population.
Everything is based on religion, work, education. So there's, even within, take the Indian population, they're Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh Indians, Jains, Christians. And then there smaller populations of other religions, and a lot of people, the religious aspect of their life is the overarching.
That's so true.
And we need to really focus on that. But when we go out into the work world, we compartmentalize that. So if we smell curry, we're like, oh my God, what is that smell?
Like one of the most delicious spices that's out there
in the world. It'll help you cut down on your salt intake.
That's right.
But we see this at times, and that may be a little bit of what the issue is. I remember when I first moved to Lansing, and I couldn't find bacalao. Bacalao is a dry codfish. And you flake it, and then you make patties out of it called bacalitos. They're like biscuits with little bits of fish in it, and they're so delicious because you eat them for breakfast.
You know how to make them?
Yeah.
We're having a future show with it's going to be a cooking show.
I've been going all crazy this week. I made I made shawarma this week. I made this
Wow.
delicious lamb dish. Went to the store, got lamb, and had them cube it, and made cucumbers and yogurt with chipotle seasoning because it wasn't seasoned
Wow.
good enough for me. But I go through these phases of what I love to do and how I want to love myself, and that's through learning about things that I never would have thought that I could do, which one was make Middle Eastern food. Never made Middle Eastern food. I was the Italian food maker in the household. So I'd be the lasagna maker, being from New York,
Yeah, that's right.
Now I expanded. So I love to cook. I do.
And so you also you're executive director of the New Citizens Press Community Action Network.
Yes, that's when you own your own business, a lot of people ask you to do other nonprofit work for them. When you are figuring out as you go along what you really love to do, mine was literacy, helping families that have been impacted by violence, and the other was dictionaries and thesauruses.
Dictionaries and thesauruses.
Yes, I'm doing a program right now called Read to Succeed, Write to Ignite. I just got a grant from Scripps Howard Foundation to purchase dictionaries and thesauruses and go into the schools and teach students how to use them.
Really?
To change nice into beautiful, magnificent, fabulous. It's to turn big into vast, expansive.
Okay.
It's been really
How
interesting.
did you find out about that grant, or how did you?
I do this. I did it anyway. In my car right now, I have a dictionary from I think 1914. I just care. I'm so.
You're like a dictionary nerd,
Yeah,
right?
I'm a dictionary nerd.
And I'm a book nerd, so this is a compliment.
I mean,
That's
I
fantastic.
love old books. I love books that have book covers with leather and raised
too.
and just the raised print on the front. So I collect those. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it or how much they're worth. I just like touching them. So
And the smell. There's something, the tangibleness of it. There's something
and the
about
pictures
it.
are
Yes.
so great inside. So I'm doing that right now at Pleasant View Middle School.
Wow.
And also on April 9th, which is a Monday, I'm having my 6th annual National Crime Victims' Rights Week dinner and ceremony for families of crime and murder victims' families. And this is my 6th year.
Wow.
The 3rd Thursday in July, I have Poetry in the City on the Capitol steps. I think this is my 12th year. So we let anybody who has a poem get up there and do their poem.
Really?
And forever, if you're in 2nd grade and you're trying to tell your kids in future years what you did with your life, you'll have a picture of yourself and you could say, I spoke on the Capitol steps.
That is awesome.
Every 3 minutes back to back from 7 to 9
Wow.
for the last 12 years.
You're going to have to, or I'm going to have to follow up and make sure.
Oh, most definitely.
That we have
So-
these dates and come out there.
Oh, it's so awesome. It is so awesome. We have a dance team come out sometime. There was one lady who just got up and did, she just quoted someone. But it was a beautiful experience. Life is not about withholding opportunities from people. Life is about giving people opportunities to succeed in places that they would normally not think that they would. And sometimes that's threatening to the powers that be. A lot of people like to keep the ability to succeed to themselves. And we need to share that. I mean, I personally don't believe that the most amazing clerk at Aldi's should stay there. I think that both you and I
Yes.
should say to that person, you know what? Are you going to school?
Yeah, empower one another.
Empower one another. You know,
Absolutely.
I
Lift
know
each other
someone who
up.
needs a receptionist.
Yes.
Or a junior accountant or a junior stock person. We have this great opportunity to do that, especially if we see someone who
I
is
have that same
struggling.
philosophy. I've had people say to me, oh, you know, if someone's in this position or if someone's there, that's where they are. Like, no, not really. That person can go anywhere that they choose to
They
go.
choose to.
And we should empower each other to do that. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, I thank God every day. I always ask myself for the child who is always behind her mother's skirt. How is this happening? How am I here talking to you? How does this happen to someone? I would have preferred to remain behind her skirt, but it wasn't something that was in my cards. So I just take deep breaths and I keep it moving, because if I were to just stop and, you know, feel the gravity of the impact that some of the things that we do make on people's lives, and I protect and I speak up for those who have to work 2 jobs, or those who have to work 1 job, but it takes them an hour and a half to get on the number 3 bus and transfer downtown and take the number 1 bus all the way over here. And then, you know, those are the people that I really speak up for, because it's really important and they don't have a voice. I was just telling someone who was interested in how someone was writing on Facebook. Now, we all could have said, well, oh my goodness, this is such bad grammar. Look at how this person is pronouncing, you know, this word. And I said, maybe it's because they don't have a good command of the English language. Or maybe they're just dyslexic and they're trying to communicate just like you and I.
Or in a hurry.
Or in a hurry.
Just didn't care because it's Facebook.
And just, you know, just didn't care. Tired. But actually this person just started learning how to write in English.
Aww.
So I rewrote it for her, and she's going to repost it.
Aww.
Especially when you're trying to impact someone on a social level. I don't want dumping in my river. I don't want dumping. So then you go about going off on a rant. Sometimes I rant, but at least I know what I'm ranting about. And you have to help them put that all together. Even if I don't agree sometimes, I still help them put it together.
How can someone get a hold of you if they want to contact you about any literacy or the programs that you're running or the newspaper? How can they contact you?
My phone number is 517-372-8466. My website address is www.tncp.net. You can find me on Facebook by just putting my name in. I will respond to any and everybody. No matter what question it is, if I don't have the answer, I will try to forward you to someone that I think does.
Rena, thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us, and we will have you on Who's Who. It's a different program that HOMTV does that gets to know people in the community, and so we will have Rena back on another program. So I thank you for being a part of this program series.
Thank you so much. It was absolutely fantastic.
And I also want to thank you at home for watching.
Thank you.